Hey everybody, I'd like to share one of my best friend's testimonies that he had about hell and judgment. His name is James Payne, and I'll put his contact information below the description and also in the comment section. Y'all stay blessed.
This morning, June 23rd, was probably one of the heaviest moments of my life. I want to take the time and just thank God for this warning that I was given, because through a dream, He allowed me to witness what hell is, at least what it would be for me. I had a lot of stuff on my mind earlier this morning, about 1, 2 in the morning, from different discussions inside of a household and having different issues inside my household. And I already was having difficulty sleeping. But I would say I actually fell asleep close to about like 3:40 in the morning. I tossed and turned, but God actually finally gave me rest at about 3:40 in the morning. However, the dream that I had will be one that I don't forget. I'm sitting there and I'm resting, and I know that I'm asleep. However, the only thing I see is the back of my eyelids. Everything is completely dark. I don't see anything. However, I feel heat. I feel heat on my chest, to the fact of where it felt as somebody touched you on the chest with a hot iron. Everything was dark. In the background, I hear cackling, I hear screams, and I hear laughter. Like very faint laughter. Just very faint laughter in the background. And I can sense that I'm being carried because I'm not walking. And this scares me because I'm completely surrounded by darkness. I can't see anything. However, I get brought to a place where the only thing around me is encompassed by fire. The best way I can explain it is like being in a cave that's literally surrounded by fire. Just imagine a cave on fire. And the only type of smell I can sense in this dream is like a smell that you get when there's like an electrical fire. Like when you smell something electric burning, like electricity, like it's burning. And you can smell it. But I got brought to an area where there was this flame, this cave, and I absolutely see demons. And the most ironic thing about it is they look like me. Tall, slim, African American. They look completely normal. They look like me. There were 6 of them. Two of them had my ankles. 2 of them had my wrists. And 1 of them held my head. They take me to this place and they absolutely bind me to where I can't move. And my mouth is actually wedged open. And the 6th demon reaches into my mouth and he pulls out my tongue. Now I stick out my tongue just so you can see how long it is now. However, when I tell you that it was stretched, it was stretched. I can't even tell you how long it was stretched. However, I do remember specifically the number 55. I don't know if it was yards, meters, feet, inches, I don't know. I know that my tongue was stretched. And I did hear one of the demons say, 55 is when he died because he lied. 55 is when he died because he lied. It was almost like a chant. But my tongue gets stretched and is put inside of a clamp. I couldn't even scream. I don't know if you guys understand in regards to how often you actually use your tongue to speak words. As kids, we used to play a game where it was like, hold your tongue and try to say a word, and you couldn't understand a single word that was saying. I couldn't even scream because my tongue was stretched out that far. But the same demon who grabbed my tongue, he grabs a scroll and he rolls out this scroll. And the scroll alone is 2.5 times longer than what they just pulled my tongue out to. And on this scroll is very, very fine print. Very, very fine print. Small words. I can't begin to tell you how many words was on this scroll. However, the same demon who pulled out my tongue, he looks at me and says, for every lie you have spoken, you shall receive 1,000 cuts on your tongue. The sad thing is he proceeded to do the cuts. He started off with a razor blade. They were very, very shallow cuts, not deep in my tongue at all, but deep enough where I bled and that I could feel every last piece of the pain. He utilized many different things, from razor blade to some actual broken glass that was dull, and he kind of had to carve into my tongue, to an axe, to a small hatchet. All the way down to the point where he grabbed a rock from off of the wall of the cave that was actually burning. It was on fire. And he proceeded to cut my tongue with that as well. If I have to describe to you what my tongue looked like, it would be like tree bark. If you ever looked at a tree up close and personal, an old tree, a big tree, and you look at its tree bark with all the veins and all the cracks and all the bruises, the swollen areas that it may look like, think about that on your tongue. And this process repeated itself 4 times in that dream. During that 4th time, I woke up. Now, I mentioned the last thing he used was a burning rock from the wall of the cave. I still speak to you right now with that burning sensation on my tongue as if I drank some really hot coffee. I don't drink coffee, but I can still feel that burning sensation on my tongue. This is something that is very difficult to express and or talk about. But in the beginning, I said it is something I have to give God thanks for, because I have to receive it as a very firm warning. And if God decides to warn you, that is him also telling you, you are one of my children. You need to correct your steps. There are many people here on this earth right now who's doing all sorts of iniquity, and they don't get the opportunity of what I just had, and that is actually being able to see, what your torment can be, what it actually really feels like being separated from God. Have you ever walked into your house that was completely pitch dark black, and you yourself, you know your house pretty well? You feel you know your house. You know where your kitchen, you know where your living room, you know where your bathroom is. So you decide to try to stumble around in the dark as if you know exactly where it is. And you might stub your toe. You might even trip over something. I know the one thing I do is I always kick my bed. And that doesn't feel good. If you ever kick the bed with an iron frame, you know that pain. Being separated from God is something that isn't good to be. And the good and bad thing about it is that wasn't the only dream God gave me on the same exact day. After I woke up from that dream, I sat up. I stayed awake for probably about 30 or 40 minutes because it was something that I couldn't deal with. It was hard. But he gave me rest again, and this was at about 4:50 in the morning, maybe 4:45 this morning. And I lay down, I get some rest again. And this time when I settled down, instead of me seeing darkness, all I seen was a very bright light, like to the fact where I had to leave my eyes closed because it hurt. After a while, I was able to open my eyes. It seemed as if the light was able to be dimmed just so I was able to see. And when I look in front of me, I just see a massive, massive being. And only thing I can see on this being is the leg. I don't know if you've ever seen a perfect leg or a perfect piece of food or anything of that nature, but all I see is this magnificent leg sitting right in front of me. And I know for sure that it's God. The area around me is literally like a blank canvas. But it's all bright. There's nothing that's there. It's just bright. A blank canvas, the best way I can describe it is kind of how you see on the movies, an all white padded room just with no pads. It's just white. There's nothing there. And it just goes on and on. This magnificent being who I'm standing in front of literally starts to speak to me my iniquities in my life. And it comes to me that I know this is my judgment. Speaking in specificity in regards to the people who I've lied to, people who I led astray. He even gave me a very direct number and said, for every 250 souls I sent to hell, I only put one in heaven. I don't know about you guys, but just to know that number, which seems very small, 250 going to hell, I don't want to be accountable for nothing like that. But I'm being told about these lies, about my disobedience, about my iniquity, all the way down to the fact of doing things on my own time. When my parents would ask me to do something, and instead of me moving with a sense of urgency immediately just to be obedient to them, I do it at my own time. Maybe I finished that last level on a video game, or maybe I decided to do another task that I felt was more important than doing what they asked me to do. However, that is still a level of disobedience and a piece of iniquity that he exposed to me. In the dream, it felt as if my judgment lasted for like 6 hours. And not one of these things were good. And I'm sitting here just thinking to myself, I know I'm going to hell. It's like when you are in front of God and He exposes to you every single wrong that you've done, both large and small, all it does is break you completely down to the fact of, I didn't know I was that bad of a person. I actually see myself not to be as bad, but just listening to the smallest of details really gets you to really reflect on yourself. I actually have it in my mind and in my heart to the fact of where it's like, you know what? I actually deserve to go to hell. And when you say it, there's nothing more that I can say. But He seen mercy in me. You are not accountable for your sins. You are forgiven. Come in. And this takes me off guard a little bit. I'm almost hesitant just because after hearing a judgment that's that bad, that's that ugly, I'm told to come in. So I'm hesitant, like, really? And as I begin to take a step towards a magnificent door, I know a lot of people like to say gate, but it's a golden door that I've seen. It's like I can't even describe it on the size of it, but if you just want to think of a very large apartment building, the door was like twice the size of that. And I take a step towards the door, and He looks at me and He says, your sin has to be accounted for. And immediately after that, He says, come forth. And like I said, it's a blank, bright space. It goes on forever. However, in the far, far distance, I just see a figure walking towards me. It's so far to the fact of where I can't see what it is. And it felt as if the person was walking to me for about an hour. However, when this person became in my eyesight where I can see, it was my mother. She actually looked like it really did look beautiful. Absolutely did. And you just hear a voice say, his iniquity is on your head because as a small child you failed to introduce him to me. Depart from me. And literally in an instant, my mom vanished right in front of my eyes. I actually pleaded to God to send me to hell, that it was me who deserved to go. One of the most important things that we need to understand is we only know in part and we only see in part. And our Father God is righteous in every judgment and decision He makes. Would you ever want to feel accountable for sending somebody to hell, somebody who you love so dearly, somebody like a parent just for being disobedient? I know I don't want to. I just want to take this time to thank God first on everything, just for sending me these dreams, sending me this warning. I do want to say thank you to all of you who's just listening. I pray that you receive from God whatever He placed on your heart to receive. I also ask you to consider that the reason why my demeanor is the way it is not because of being saddened or depressed or worried, but to physically dream about going to hell and dream about a judgment and dream about somebody who you love dearly going to hell because of the issues you have dealing with, fighting against, is heavy. It is. Just from the dream that I had, is something that I wouldn't want to wish or pray for anyone. I would pray that if there's anything that you're struggling with, that you learn to confess it immediately and you get your life right with Jesus Christ as soon as possible. This experience is one that I will not forget for the rest of my life whatsoever. Prayer goes out to those who deny. Prayer goes out to those who are fighting. Prayer goes out to those to accept. On this day, I sit as a humble man and would like to publicly apologize to any and every individual who I have wronged through lies, through disobedience, through deceit. I did not want to lead you astray if I have. If God did not reveal to me these dreams, I would have never known the power of what deceit can do. I encourage that everybody take some time to themselves and actually reflect, really dig deep and reflect on what needs to be improved, what needs to work on. Certain sins that you haven't confessed, confess them, leave them at the foot of the cross, and ask God to legitimately manifest in you a new mind and a new heart so you can be a new being, a new you. Search for love every day. Pray. Thank God for every single blessing. Once again, I just want to thank you for your time, and thank you, God, for sending me these dreams.